So this very stack of comics that I'm holding right here contains one comic that is now a member of, I guess you could say, a small amount of comics. It's a part of an exclusive club, and that club is Recalled Comics. And this specific comic was recalled by Marvel, and this is Immortal Hulk, issue number 43. This isn't a common occurrence. Comics do not get recalled that often, because there are few reasons that they really need to be recalled. If there's just some, coloring error or some typo or something, they're not going to recall it. Generally, comics get recalled when there's something in there that's offensive. Usually that's the connecting theme, something that the company maybe just wants to, leave behind and forget. And it happened again this week, and I'll get into the details of it, but like I said, it was Immortal Hulk issue number 43, and what happens in this scene that it gets recalled in, Joe Fixit, who's controlling Bruce Banner's body at the time, he walks into a jewelry shop. The name of this jewelry shop, as you can see in the backwards text on the window in the shop, and it is called Cronenberg Jewelry. It's seen in reverse on the window with a Star of David below it. I mean, this should jump out to some of you, but very clearly that is an example of maybe a harmful Jewish stereotype, right? Essentially the idea, as Comics XF pointed out, and I'll just read what he says because he puts it quite elegantly. They say, the only conceivable interpretation, to put it frankly, is that this is a visual play on the old anti-Semitic trope of Jews running the diamond business. This was immediately not a good look for Marvel, and fans immediately were also calling them out on it, saying, hey, what is this? Why is this? And the artist Joe Bennett, I guess, sort of took responsibility, you could say, for this scene and released an apology statement on Facebook. Now, I will say, I think his apology is actually really decent. I think as far as, I guess you could compare this to celebrity apologies. It was really thoughtful, really understanding. And as he describes it, it seemed like an honest mistake. I will get into his explanation here. He intended to make the name, as far as the name goes, the Cronenberg Jewelry. He meant to have it more so say Cronenberg, which was supposed to be a reference to a horror film director, which was something he was trying to do in that scene. The director being David Cronenberg. However, the name was misspelled unintentionally, along with misspelling jewelry as jewelry. And Joe Bennett said that it was an honest but terrible mistake because he was writing backwards in the inside of the store, looking out the store side window. But all that being said, he said it was no excuse, especially for the inclusion of the Star of David. Joe Bennett's official statement reads, I failed to understand the troubling and offensive stereotype after listening to you all, and now I understand my mistake. This was wrong, offensive, and hurtful in many ways. This is a mistake I must own, and I am sorry to everyone who was hurt by this. I am working with Marvel to correct this, and am using this lesson to reflect on how I approach my stories and my work. Marvel also came out and had a statement with this, and where they basically said they fully acknowledge this mistake, and it was missed on their side as well. So I guess the editorial team is taking a little bit of blame for this, and what they're doing is they're re-releasing this comic since it's recalled. They're re-releasing it digitally and in print. With that, I don't know, with the words and the Star of David essentially just wiped away from it. I'll have the new and old image up on the YouTube video if that's where you're watching. So yes, this issue will get a reprint, and you can also return these comics to stores. I assume this is maybe with participating stores. I don't know if it's every single comic shop, but I think Marvel is essentially offering replacements or refunds for these offensive issues. Spinning out of this, the first thing that maybe comic collectors are going to think is that now this offensive issue, including this problem, is going to essentially become a collector's item, which is the case for all recalled comics. So, I mean, this is just how it goes. And as far as collecting goes, we should all understand that collecting, in essence, is finding things with less of themselves in circulation, if that makes sense. So there will now be a limited amount of these misprinted, if you will, issues of Hulk that are now in circulation. And so, of course, they will become rare simply because collectors will seek after them, and there will be fewer of them than the new reprinted editions. But I digress. I heard a lot of people talking about there was a huge fan outcry, which of course there was. However, I woke up to this news of this comic being recalled like pretty early on Wednesday morning. So I don't know how long the comic was even out. Like, so I guess I'm saying I don't know how much the fans really did have time to outcry. It seems like Marvel and Joe Bennett caught it pretty quickly and released statements pretty quickly and recalled it pretty much the very morning. So I guess good on Marvel for that. And like I said, it seems like Joe Bennett is very reflectful and respectful of his understanding. And it seemed like an honest mistake. Not that it's okay, and it's definitely not. So an interesting topic for today's news segment, something I won't, I guess, get to cover all that often because it's not every day that a comic gets recalled. But that being said, I'm going to be covering my thoughts on the issue itself down in the episode here. Now getting into the comics for this episode, I got a big old stack here and there's so many in the pile that I just cannot wait to talk about.